Hi, I'm Jeff Ondria, an account executive with Arkieva. Thanks for joining us here on Arkieva Spotlight. Today we're back to continue our discussion on the 5 distinct steps of developing an effective S&OP process that's outlined in Dr. Singh's book, A Practical Guide for Improving Sales and Operational Planning. On our last Arkieva Spotlight, we discussed step 1, understanding customer demand. With me today to discuss step 2, analyze inventories, is Chris Richards. Chris is a practice director here at Arkieva and leads a team of implementation consultants. Chris, thanks for joining me today.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Because Arkieva is focused solely on supply chain planning, we're aware that inventory is often the most visible aspect of the supply chain, and it can be easily quantified. Inventories are necessary. They buffer against fluctuations in demand as well as manufacturing. So what kind of problems can a business expect to run into if their inventory is not managed properly, Chris?
So there's a magnitude of problems, both financial and operational. One of the biggest ones is working capital. Along with receivables, inventory ties up money. And when that happens, it prevents monies being able to be used elsewhere. So if there's a product launch and you need some money, you don't have as much for sales and marketing. If you want to buy a new asset, there's not enough in your CapEx budget. So that's a big thing, the financial aspect, but there's also a lot of operational issues. So when you're producing the wrong thing, you're really losing capacity. So that's also a big issue, especially when you're in a capacity constrained situation. But warehousing has another big impact. If you walk into a warehouse that you have way too much inventory at, you can really visually see the problem for not managing inventories. But you also have very low productivity because people have to do cycle counting more. They have to move product to get to older dates and things like that. Another big thing is the quality of inventory. When you've got obsolete or slow moving inventory, your product it just isn't as, it can often not be as good a quality. So these are just a few of the challenges if you're not managing inventory properly.
Right. So if you're to conduct this an inventory analysis project, where should one start? And what type of tasks should the team expect?
So, where you start is really with any project, you want to identify the goals. What are you trying to accomplish? So are you trying to identify inventories? Are you trying to action inventories? Or is upper management just looking at the impact to working capital? So generally with an inventory project, you're looking at all of those plus a little bit more. So you asked about the tasks. So what are some of the things that you want to do when you're embarking on an inventory project? So one of the first things you want to do is you have to sit back and you say, what is relevant to my business? What are the attributes that I need and how do I want to look at it? So some companies look at it by work center capacity. Others will look at it by product or packaging or a product line. A lot of companies look at an ABC analysis. So they look at their high dollar items to get at working capital. And then a lot of food industries look at best if used by dates. So there's lots of different attributes that they have to look at. And the next thing is you want to set up a tool or process that allows you to get at the data. You need to be able to get to it, keep it fresh, so that you can then go to step 3, which is to analyze it, which is the most important step. And when you're analyzing, you're trying to understand where are your inventories, both physically, where are they, and where are they against your target. And once you do that, then you want to look at the relationship to inventory, what's causing that. So what are your safety stocks? How are they generated? What's your relationship to the demand variability? What are other parameters that are affecting your inventories? Are your MOQs set high? Do you have really long lead times? And then going back to inventory management, you want to identify what's obsolete or off spec, what's coming close to expiry dates. That's going to help you manage the dollars of inventory. Yeah. So again, just to kind of summarize, it's identify what attributes you want to look at, set up a tool that gets at the data so you can look at it, and then you spend a lot of time analyzing, and then you start to action it.
Yeah. So what kind of technology deliverables should a business be striving for at this point, Chris?
When you're looking at technology, what you want is a tool that is robust and agile for you. So you want, again, we talked about getting at the inventory. It's got to be a database that can load the inventory based on the attributes, and it can save a history so that you can look at trends and your actions and things like that. The tool has to have the capability to aggregate the data. So it's got to be able to look at high level, low level. You may want to start out at work center, but you may want to look at your C items on a work center. You also definitely want to be able to look at it in terms of volume, dollars, and days of supply. So that tool has to be really robust to be able to slice and dice and look at things. The other thing that's really important, especially with companies that have a lot of SKUs, is to be able to have an exception-based tool. So you don't have to look at everything. You can get to the root cause of the problems.
So you've done all this great work, right? How do you maintain it once it's in place?
Well, so that's really the people are always the most important thing, right? So you have to have a supportive process to be able to do this. So that's where the people come in. They have to have the discipline to monitor the inventories, to look at where they are and look at the parameters to drive improvement. It's really a continuous improvement process. They need to, this process should really be preemptive to problems. So if they're doing it on a regular cadence, you're not gonna have an inventory problem. You're gonna solve it every month. The other thing that's really important is that you have to have a collaborative process for disposing of the aged and obsolete sub-quality inventory. So, that process includes not just the supply chain folks, but it should include marketing and sales and quality as well. So an example is quality may be able to retest a product and say, no, it's still good, we can extend the expiry date. So you have to have that collaborative behavior, and that's where S&OP comes back. So everybody is looking at the same goals, and they know that inventory management is important to your sales and operations planning for your company.
No, completely understood. So what are some of the benefits that a company would expect from completing this type of exercise, Chris?
So the benefits really are the counter to why you would do it in the first place. You manage your inventories, you're going to have better working capital for the right things. You're going to increase your capacity. You're going to have better operations overall throughout the supply chain. And you're going to have reduced obsolescence. So it's really going to make your company much more financially sound, both operationally and fiscally. There are studies that show, too, if you have the right tool and processes in place, that you'll get at least a 10% decrease in inventories. So, and what's nice about having the right tool is then you can measure your successes and drive that continual improvement.
Great. Chris, that's great information that you shared with us today. I certainly appreciate your time. And, over the next several weeks, we'll be doing these discussions. We're going to pick it up the next time, where I'll be discussing step 3 of routinely creating a demand plan right here in Arkieva Spotlight. Thanks for watching today.